Good evening and welcome to another episode of Investigate Everything. I'm Brian O'Shea, your host. Took some time off, went out to a friend's wedding, had a great time. For those of you that know the show and know me, I want you to know that my wife is almost completely healed. It's amazing. She had a big surgery and you'd never know it. Okay, so let's get right into it. I have a hard stop tonight at about 11 o'clock because this might sound nerdy and old, but I'm trying to win this challenge for steps, and I'm like 2,000 steps shy. It's like 15,000 steps a day for 30 days. So I want to stick with that, but this is very important. So tonight's topics are as follows. The NYC primaries are Democratic primaries, but I want to explain to you why I think they matter to you no matter what state you're in and why you should pay attention to them. We're also going to talk about what appears to be, and I've brought this up many times before, the subversion or the actual infiltration, which is pointed at the destruction of the DNC by socialists, mainly the Democratic Socialists of America. It's very real, and it kind of ties to the first topic of why you should be paying attention to these elections in New York City, which just ended. The primaries ended at 9 o'clock, hence the late hour. I was out there talking to some people, and I learned some very interesting things. We'll get into that, and I brought receipts. And then finally, I want to talk about oil. So we have Tucker Carlson, who just now doesn't support the Republican Party. I don't think Tucker Carlson has ever, and nor does he seem to really support America. So no one really cares, except for Tucker's fans. And his fans on the left, including Pod Save America, because they seem to quote him as a representative of the right more than anyone, which is total hogwash. And then, but I want to talk about oil because, everyone's like, oh, we've lost the war. Iran's in control. The negotiations are falling apart. I don't think any of that matters. Honestly, I think it's all theater. And I'm going to show you why. Okay, it comes down to prices, oil, and receipts. So let's start with the primaries here in New York City. It's kind of interesting because what I did today is I walked around to all the different, they call them poll sites, and I just mapped them in. You could go to the New York website and check them out. And I just started walking to all of them and talking to people. Let me give you the positive first. The positive is Republicans can learn a lot from the way Democrats or the left does their elections or primaries. There's literally like arrows on the street showing you where to freaking go. It's pretty amazing. Like, they make sure everyone that can is voting. Now, here's where it gets a little weird in New York City. In New York City, everyone is, all the candidates, especially in the Democratic primary, are Democrats. But even in a general election, Republicans barely have a chance of winning. Now, a lot of that is because it's just the nature of New York City. It's packed with illegals, but it's also just traditionally kind of a Democrat left-wing place. But something's happening, and it's palpable on the streets of New York City. You can see it, and it's confusing to a lot of people. Like, who do I vote for? This Democrat or that Democrat? Well, the thing is, they're not really all Democrats. There's a very, very mighty showing of actual socialists backed by the DSA. They keep changing the name locally. And they're going head to head. And what's a good example of this? Well, a good example of this, and I brought this up, I think like last year when we first started talking about the DSA, it really showed this past week with Dan Goldman, who just lost tonight, but the representative, incumbent Democrat representative Dan Goldman, who just literally just lost the primary. He just got primaried like minutes ago. And he lost to Mamdani endorsed Brad Lander. Mamdani, of course, was backed by the Democratic Socialists of America when he ran. All right. So this is why it matters to you, is because what's happening is the DSA is unseating the DNC. Now, the DSA is not a political party, but what they're doing is they are kind of like the cuckoo bird, like jumping into the nest with the Democrats, killing them off, and then destroying their eggs the way a cuckoo bird does. And as an example of that, look at how much influence they have over the DNC now. The squad are all Democratic Socialists. And just for those that are new to it, and a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about, but for those that are new to it, remember that these are not Democrats. Like, these are not the DNC. Yeah, they run on the ticket, but that's only because the DSA is not yet a political party. Okay, and we'll get more into who they are towards the end if we have time. We're going to be covering a lot of this week. But I first started noticing it when I spent more time here. I'm currently in Brooklyn. With the density of Marxist propaganda all over the streets here. And then I started noticing something else. Track APAC signs that have Dan Goleman's face on them on telephone poles and light posts and everything like that. Well, if you know anything about Track APAC, it's actually run by German Marxists out of Germany. Okay, these are not like MAGA Reich or anything. These are like actual Marxists who are war attacking Dan Goleman. Now they don't have to because now he's gone. But if you didn't see it this week, I'm going to pull it up for you here on X. Dan Goleman got attacked at a place called Poetica, which is a coffee shop. And I want to find this video because it really does show that these are not allies. These DSA and the traditional DNC are not allies. They are, in fact, at war with each other. And the DSA is running to take over from the inside. And this has happened before. Like in the history of communism, I brought it up in the past, 1948 Czechoslovakia. That's exactly what Stalin did. Stalin could not just take Czechoslovakia because he'd already just taken so many countries after the war that the Allies finally said, hey, yo, dude, you got to have some elections here. This is ridiculous. But basically, yeah, here we go. But basically, what happened was he infiltrated these Stalinists into Czechoslovakia, even though their nationalist president had come back. They had a right, they had a left, and they were actually called Democratic Socialists. It's 1948. And what they did is they kind of took over little bits and pieces of the existing left-wing party of Czechoslovakia. And they took positions like security, intelligence. Then they used the access and the power that those positions gave them to pick off the traditional liberals of Czechoslovakia until everyone on the left were Stalinists. They were Stalin's people. What Stalin did to the right was he basically scuttled them. He inserted people that are very similar to like the kind of like Tom Massey supporters, the MAGA Reich, as some people call them, who started blaming, basically they had their own form of racism. It couldn't be anti-Jewish because it was right after the war and that wouldn't have played. And so they basically had minorities in Czechoslovakia that these right-wing infiltrators would blame on all of their problems. Okay, they're the reason why things are still not that great and everything. Well, eventually what happened is the nationalist president started having these no king style marches and riots going right up against the Capitol. And eventually there was a murder, and I'm really paraphrasing, there's a murder, and he basically finally just kind of abdicated. A few weeks later, he was dead from suicide. I'm sure suicide by 2 bullets. But the point is, we're seeing the same thing play out in America today. The good news is we have a strong president. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you love him. I don't care if you hate him. But the point, you can't argue that he is a man of action, and he does what he says, okay, for the most part. So that definitely helps. But where we have to be careful is what comes next. Yes, I'm worried about the primaries, of course. But I'm more worried about who will slip into the next presidential role, because I don't think it'll be a Democrat. We have to make sure we know what kind of conservative takes power. Okay, and that's a whole nother episode, but so just keep an eye on that. But back to the Democrats. So right before the final vote, which was today, Dan Goldman goes into Poetica with his daughter, and basically, here we go. Basically, he has a nice time, as he says. Yeah, here we go. He goes in, he says he has a nice time and everything, and then Poetica posts like horrible things about him on Instagram. And Poetica is 2 primary locations in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's like the heart of a lot of the DSA and a lot of the Marxism, and they just went on Dan Goldman full bore. Now he's out. But let me show you this video if you didn't already see it. Give me a second here. Okay, so let me play this for you really quickly.
Coffee in Brooklyn on Sunday with his Congressman Dan Goldman stopped in Poetica Coffee in Brooklyn on Sunday with his 7-year-old daughter who used the restroom. He said they were so kind that he bought a coffee. Afterwards, Poetica's social media account posted a picture of Goldman at the cashier counter with this message. Hey, Rep. Goldman, we see that you stopped by our shop today for a coffee. Do you see how it doesn't taste like genocide juice, or are you still having a hard time telling the difference? See, here at Poetica, we don't serve racists, fascists, homophobes, genocide enablers, or anyone in between. Too bad we didn't recognize you right away, or we would have turned you away. We issued you a refund. We don't need your money. It's probably coming from AIPAC anyways. Enjoy your loss on Tuesday. Don't ever come to Poetica. Now, that post has since been taken down, but the congressman did respond on social media. He said, I'm sorry to see this post. The barista could not have been nicer to my 7-year-old daughter and me, allowing her to use the bathroom, even though we had not purchased anything. I made sure to buy a coffee in return for her kindness. I hope you at least make sure she gets the tip that she deserved. Last night, he spoke to CNN's Laura Coates.
It's a reflection, I think, of a sad state of affairs that without knowing me, we could have had such a nice interaction. 2 people, obviously from different backgrounds, different faiths, but that's what America is. And that's what New York City is. That is what I believe in. I am a strong proponent of equal rights, of civil rights, of human rights. And what is going on in the Middle East is horrific. And the idea of accusing someone who you don't know of, supporting a genocide, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, I may disagree as to whether or not there's a genocide, but come on, we're better than this, and we need to be better than this, and we have to stop dividing.
What do you say to those who look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., and look at what's happening in the Middle East, who say that they have a vested interest in both and equate the policies of Netanyahu with you?
Well, that's exactly the fundamental problem, because, and first of all, I've been very openly opposed to this Israeli government. But just like Donald Trump is not synonymous with the United States, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government is not synonymous with the country and state of Israel. I think it's really dangerous when people start conflating the actions of the Israeli government with American Jews who have absolutely nothing to do with what is going on in Israel. And the rise in anti-Semitism because of what is happening in the Middle East here in the United States is really dangerous, and it is escalating significantly.
CNN has reached out to Poetica for comment. Goldman's challenger, Brad Lander, who has accused Israel of genocide, has condemned the coffee shop. Laura Coates is here with me now. Laura.
Okay, so you get the idea. It might sound familiar to you if you've been watching what's happening with what we call the MAGA Reich. It's the same thing. It's like using any affiliation with not Israel. It started with Israel, but now it's like any affiliation with like AIPAC, for instance, is you're bad. AIPAC is an American lobby PAC. And so you'll hear people say, oh, they should register with FARA. I mean, people are dumb, but at the same time, a lot of people that follow these dummies, they don't really do any research, and that's on the right and the left. But what I want to get a take away from that there is, it sounds like if you heard that and you didn't hear the names and you've been following the politics around people accusing AIPAC of this and the Jews and the Israelis of this and that, the other thing, it's the same voice on both sides of the aisle. The people attacking the Democrats are the same voices. It's the same script almost as the people attacking Donald Trump, for instance, and the Trump administration. Some slight differences, but it's pretty much the same voice. And where does that voice come from? Well, who has a vested interest in getting rid of Israel in the Middle East? Of course, China and Russia do. Who do most of the MAGA right, like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, those kind of people? Who do they seem to be heavily influenced by? The Russians. And it's been going on for a long time. Okay, this is nothing new with, let's say, the Russians trying to undermine Israel in the Middle East. It's not even really about undermining Israel because they're Jewish or anything else. It's about undermining the United States so that way our enemies can have global dominance over the Middle East. Israel's always been in the way, and a lot of our enemies look at Israel as just an extension of the United States. So pay attention to this messaging. Now, Mamdani was backed by the socialists, the Democratic Socialists of America. So is Lander. So what you have going on in these primaries today was really interesting when I went out there. First of all, you'll see the kind of, I don't know what you call them, like the supporters of the candidates are sitting just outside the zone of where they can be, so they're not accused of electioneering, and they're handing out flyers. Let me see here. Let me show you this one here. So I'm going to add this to the stage. I'm going to remove that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is like 4 hours ago. It's not the best video because I couldn't stick my phone in her face. I wanted her to talk. This lady's sitting there and she's handing out.
Take one of those, thanks.
Cunningham, you fight for the whole
Now
place.
listen.
They all together. They're
They're
all
all
on the same
together?
side, yeah. Cunningham is there, see? And,
Okay.
this is his co-lead. This is his female co-leader. She's voting for.
Gotcha.
But she got-
You're voting for Michelle?
Michelle. Well, I voted in Manhattan.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Anthony Bedford, he's already in. He's running for re-election. Then
Okay.
she's a new judge. That's
Gotcha.
So you vote for the whole slate. You
Vote
might
for-
be
okay.
somebody else that's going the opposite position, but ignore that.
Well, I mean, aren't they all Democrats?
Yeah, they're all different, but the other side.
I'm new to Brooklyn, so.
Okay, because this guy, they gotta have somebody against him on the ballot. I think he's Jewish. I'm not sure. That's what I said. I don't know, because I don't live here. But on her, she got somebody named.
So what she just said is, so she's obviously supporting the traditional Democrats, these people. Okay. These are the incumbents. These are the DNC. These are the non-socialist backed candidates in these local elections. And so she said, Cunningham has someone running against him who I think is Jewish. I'm not sure. That's basically what she said. But she's not sure. She just defaulted to must be Jewish. Again, it's the same language. It all comes out of the Democratic Socialists of America. And, someone might say, well, wait a minute, Brian. You said, the MAGA communists, they're different than DSA. There is actually something called MAGA communism. It's the American Communist Party. One of its founders, Haz el-Din, actually came from the DSA. And now he's suddenly on the right. So, again, which could be real. I mean, communists never really agree on anything. So these are what she's promoting. And she's sitting there in her lawn chair all day. And this is every voting site. It's like there's so many of them here. And you have people handing out these. And then you have people handing out these. Okay? I'll tell you what that means, but let's listen to her a little more. She's pretty much telling me who to vote for.
Anisha Evans running against her, and then he got a Cal Warner. You're gonna find him over running against him, and then she got Purvis, something like that, running
Got it.
against her.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate the help.
They're gonna pass you their flyer too.
Okay. All right. So you get the idea there. So obviously I'm not voting. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not registered to vote in these primaries anyways. But that's what she's for, that one side. Now, what's interesting is the way they sit there, these people. You think they're like election officials, especially if you're new to the area. I'm not really new to the area, but it gets people to talk to you. So I found that really interesting because honestly, like, I didn't know it was down at the local level that there are two different Democrats running in all of these races. There's socialists and then there's traditional Democrats. Dan Goldman, he was a traditional Democrat. I didn't like the guy, but he was your typical legacy type of Democrat who just got unseated by a socialist-backed candidate. Okay? Just got defeated by a socialist-backed candidate. And I mean, the DSA are real socialists. They were actually formed in Brazil decades ago at one of the biggest communist conventions that was convened with people like Fidel Castro and everything. Like, these are hardcore communists, and they are now the biggest communist organization that's ever existed in the United States. As of like January, they hit like 100,000 people. Okay? So that's what we have here. This is them. These are the socialist candidates. Now, nowhere on this, and I'm sorry I didn't have this ready to go, but I didn't have time, but nowhere on this do you see Democratic Socialists of America, right? But what you do see is the issues. Okay, one of the key issues is that second one right there. It's like stopping deed theft and protecting tenants from abusive landlords. They're going after the landlords. They did this in Maoist China too. Okay, and they're going after the landlords. Mamdami's trying to pass something where they can like basically hold landlords accountable and basically take their building. Now, I want to point out they're not going after corporate landlords. They're not going after BlackRock or properties in the city owned by the Bank of China. No, they're going after landlords, people that own like one or two buildings. Okay, and I had a conversation with this woman here, very nice lady, and I didn't know who she was. She just kind of cornered me. I came around the corner, she was there. And she started going into it, and I said, "Are you affiliated with the DSA?" And she kind of didn't want to say it. But then I noticed on the card here, it doesn't say DSA, but what it does say is New Kings Democrats and the Brooklyn Young Democrats and Brooklyn Can't Wait. And then she said, "No, have you ever heard of the Brooklyn Democratic Party?" And I said, "Is that different than the Democratic Party?" She's like, "Yes, it's much different. We care about the issues that are all socialist issues." Okay. And so that's what you have. Just like we're seeing trying to form on the right with Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Joe Kent, Candace Owens to some degree. They're trying to form this whole separate party within the party. And traditional socialist. Okay. Now, this is why it's dangerous. Okay. For many reasons. It's dangerous because they're not only going after like landlords and everything, but if you just Google like Social Security and boomers, what you're going to see is they're going after retired people. Because see, what happened is all the Social Security has been spent and squandered. They don't want to pay it out. So the new campaign there is coming from the same people is, oh, these old boomers, now we have to work and pay taxes to support their cushy lifestyle. Now, we all know boomers that are living on Social Security checks. But see, they want that to go away. They want to not give that out because they don't have a lot of it to give, and they want to probably squander it themselves. So you're seeing these attacks come, at the traditional Americans from every side. And yes, you might not like them, but Democrats are Americans. They're, for the most part, people like Dan Goldman, who, again, I don't like, really. I can't think of one Democrat I like. I don't agree with their politics. But if you really look through the noise, you're going to see two separate people under that DNC tent. You can see people that have really bad ideas and know nothing about economics, but they tend to be America focused. Whereas you have this whole new squad and a lot of these Minnesota people who are like totally tear it all down, globalist, communism, no borders. I mean, it's crazy. And it's happening in New York City en masse. Look at who our mayor is, a total socialist, communist, backed by the DSA. All right, so here's the even crazier part. Now, this hits both of them, the traditional Democrats that I showed you, as well as the socialists, but more the socialists, because who's running the city? Socialist Mamdani. But listen to this conversation I had. So I figured I'm going to walk in and I'm going to just see what's going on in there. I couldn't really film it but I got the audio. I put my phone in my pocket. But I went in and I just wanted to see how easy it was to vote in a primary. Listen to this. This is crazy. Okay, so phone goes in the pocket, but you can still hear it. Let me speed it up here. So I'm going in
75 Clarkson.
Okay, so I'm going in the place. I give a fake name and a fake address.
Okay.
How about that? Right? I can help you out.
That's where they hide all the air conditioning.
Hold on just a second. I don't care if you hear the fake name.
Right? I can help you out.
I told her
The air conditioning.
I wasn't sure if I was at the right place to vote based on my address. I gave a phony address and a totally phony name. They don't check ID. She just started writing and she said, I can help you out. Nice lady, by the way.
Clarkson? Clarkson Avenue?
Yep. 11226.
Mm-hmm.
Clarkson Avenue. Avenue 11226.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where you go. PS 92.
Okay.
That's 6. So I could give you a referral.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Listen to this right here.
Okay. So let's see what your 5643.
Okay.
5643.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just moved here this like 9 months ago. What does a referral slip do?
yeah. 92 and it's 601. Okay. And what's your name?
My name is Brian Smith, and that's Smith with a Y.
Okay, so it's
Okay, you guys got that? That's okay. It's a fake name anyways, but let me just kind of speed up a little here.
5.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to use it again, so I guess I don't care, but just want to get to the good part.
I don't know how kids sign
This is
their
small
names
talk,
today
but it's kind of funny.
because they're not learning script.
Isn't that sad? I agree.
That's very sad.
Yeah, they don't even have the lines with the
Yes.
dots. Remember those?
Jimmy Kimmel was doing something outside his studio to let people see. He was asking to sign your name. You should see him.
Wow. And how
It's so
how did they sign? Like they just?
They couldn't.
Oh my God. So were they just trying to print
They was
it?
just trying to do stuff.
probably
that
don't
they
She's
even
talking about how they don't teach cursive anymore.
It's so
Oh,
sad.
you don't learn. I grew up learning penmanship.
I saw a bunch of I saw an interview with these girls from I forgot what it is, like kind of a nude site that is popular with the kids, like Any Fans or Only Fans or something like that. You heard of this?
It was on the Glenn Beck show.
And they were asking them who the first president was.
They don't even know.
They were like, "Oh, the guy with the top hat."
It's true.
Oh my God.
This is terrible.
Or like, what language do people speak in Idaho?
Oh my God.
They didn't know. So.
Okay, now listen.
Okay, so I give them this.
Right here.
Yes.
Sorry.
And you go straight to his table.
Oh, and I can go walk right over
Well, they
this.
could straight, right?
Okay,
they give you
got
that
it.
and they'll tell you where your table is.
Where can I get one of these?
I don't know. This is when we go usually, like to take a class.
Oh, okay, that's not just information. Okay,
No.
got it. Okay, I thought it was just candidate
no.
information. I don't need it then.
He's a clerk manual for us, like for the day. How we
Totally
treat
understand.
people and everything.
Okay, well, thanks, Shirley. I appreciate
Yes.
it.
Nice.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
That looks like a good book.
Okay. So what's that mean? What did you just hear? This is crazy. And keep in mind, it's the socialists running the city now based on who the mayor is. All right. So what they have is they have these referral slips. This is crazy. Wait till you hear this. So what happens with this referral slip is they put your name, and I'm kind of waving my name there, but I'm showing you the back of it because the back of the one she filled out for me has they gave me a blank one. So what that means is, even though they don't check ID in New York, when you go in to vote at the primaries, they check the name you give them and the address you give them, you know, across these big books. It's like old school. Well, if what happened there, and I did this a couple times, you go to the wrong voting station, they're not going to have a book with your name in it because they don't handle your vote. They can look in their book for your name. They're not going to find it because you're not in the right voting area. Okay, so you just say, "Hey, I must be in the wrong area. Can I get a referral?" And what happens is they fill out this referral, so name and the address, but they can't check ID, so they just put down the address you gave them and the name you give them as a voter, and then they write down a code that lets you take this little piece of paper that anyone could just photocopy, and then you can walk over to the voting station that is yours and walk right past the people with a book that should be checking your name in their ledger. But with the referral, you don't have to stop. You just walk in. She already assigned a table to vote at. I could just walk in and vote. So I just walked in. I didn't vote because that's, I don't want to break the law and get arrested in New York. But I walked in. No one stopped me because I had a referral slip. Now think about that. In New York, at least in the primaries, we're going to check it out during the general election. I've never voted in New York City, so I don't know. But at least in the primaries, you could photocopy a bunch of these things. Put down any name you want, okay? Put a signature, because that's all she put was her signature and her poll worker number. But you could get a bunch of poll worker numbers because it's right on their badge. And you could send 100 people to go vote for your person. Or you could go and do it multiple times. It's insane. It's insane. So let's say they want to kick out all of these traditional Democrats. They can just load these people up with these. Let's say there's ballot watchers, so they're counting people to make sure the votes, tally with the people walking in. You can send in a bunch of people with these referral slips, and no one checks anything. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe she just gave it to me. And it's in Chinese, Hindi, Spanish, and looks like Korean. Okay, so, yeah. So I don't even know how they can have a fair election in the city, let alone the state, because I did vote in the state of New York for the presidential election, and I tried to give them my ID. They wouldn't take it. I'm like, how do you know I'm me? And they're like, sir, you just go vote over there. So, again, I'd never seen it before. I mean, the copyright on this is 2013, so they've been doing it for a while. But really, who controls this? They can fill out a bunch of these, like the DSA could, or DSA people who are really owning like the election committees, and just send a bunch of their people to go vote in multiple places. and no one's going to have a chance, because even if you call them on it, who's going to investigate it? New York State? Kathy Hochul, the mayor, she's not DSA, but she's beholden to them because she's scared of Mondami. And Mondami wouldn't even endorse her, but she endorsed him. So the point is, why does it matter to you? Here's why it matters to you. Check this out. And a lot of you know this, but this is the DSA right here, okay? I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so you could go to get rid of that one. And we're going to add this one. This is the DSA site right here. Let me see if I can get a bigger one here. Okay. So you see this is their past endorsements. Okay. See a lot of them here. Now again, you're still probably wondering, well, Brian, still, why does this matter to me? So a ton of people. I don't know if you recognize some of these, but they've backed a lot of people. And they've had a lot of wins. Now here's why it matters. These are the states that they're taking elections in. Okay, those are the towns. And you see this? Pretty much every state in the country. Detroit, New York, Oregon, Texas, Delaware, Maine, Massachusetts, Missouri, Tennessee, Denver, New York City, of course, Georgia, Kentucky, Washington, Minnesota, Texas again, Pennsylvania. The list goes on and on. Yes, a lot of blue states, but a lot of red states. If you go further on this, you can go to, and you see there, take out the capitalist trash. You can check out their chapters. Okay. And you can see just the coloring alone. I just want to point out it's Chinese national colors. Yeah, I'm sure that's not by accident. But if you go through this site, go to chapter resources, I believe. Yeah, here we go. Get involved with your local chapter. Here's the chapter list. This is why it's important to you guys. Okay. Alabama, basically every state in the country. Zone in on the left-hand side there. Look at all those Floridas. Look at that. Now, will they win in all those states? Maybe not. Probably not in Florida, but guess what? Look at all these, the agriculture states. I mean, every state, guys. Okay? And the thing is, you got to remember about communists and socialists. They're relentless. They're going to keep on going until, if they move the ball a foot up the field, they'll keep going. That's a win for them. Slow and steady wins the race for them. But I can tell you this list has grown exponentially since I first looked at it about a year ago, and they're everywhere. There's a reason why people like Seneca Scott, good guy, man. He's the one that kind of booted the DSA out of Oakland, California. And then he shot over to Tennessee to help them out because these people are spreading worse than the fake pandemic. Okay, these guys are spreading like a virus, and they're not stopping. They want it all, property rights, everything. They want the dystopian hell that comes with communism, and they're taking it by infiltrating the Democratic Party and taking county level, municipal level, and trying to get on school boards and working their way up. So guys, look, you gotta stay on top of it. Zoning committees, everything. If you got time to get out to these meetings in your local area, you got to get out there and you got to block these people because they're spreading fast, and taking out key people in the Democratic Party I'm sure I know Hakeem Jeffries is on their list because they attacked his office after October 7th, and he's Muslim. And they had all the pro-Hamas people who are mainly DSA and PSL, the People's Party for Socialism and Liberation. That's like their violent arm. But we don't pay attention to it because we're so distracted by the communists on our side, the people like the Tucker Carlsons, Candace Owens, all these idiots. They call themselves libertarians. They might think they are, but they're puppets for people that want to destroy both parties. Okay, so we have to pay attention to it. What can you do? I don't know. I mean, find the local DSA chapter and learn everything you can about it, and start telling people, like, look, tell your Democrat friends, if you have any, educate them that these are not Democrats. These are bad people who are trying to take over the Democratic Party. They're also, through their ACP, their American Communist Party branch, trying to scuttle the right. So then eventually all you have is two communists running for president in key offices, and no matter who wins, the communists do. It's very real, and we can't fall asleep. You don't want to go to sleep, on the woke, because the woke are still awake, and they're still moving, and they're moving fast, and they're moving hard. All right, that is the topic. But again, just want to reiterate, that's shocking. And yes, I'm going to be following up on this and looking into it more. Okay. Before I go much further, let me say hi to some people in the chat room. I'm no longer tired. Said, I'm unbelievably tired. That's so nice. But happy to be here for a live show. Woo! I'm happy to have you. So let me talk about our sponsors really quickly because they are awesome. The first sponsor is the Wellness Company. Love the Wellness Company. They're great. Let me put myself back on the stage. Here we go. There we go. There's that handsome guy. Okay. Sorry, no longer tired. I got to take you down here so I can pop this up. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the Wellness Company. When credible doctors start paying attention to repurposed medications, which the Wellness Company is really good at, it's worth asking why. Dr. Harvey Risch, former professor of epidemiology at Yale and now serving on the president's cancer panel, is helping lead that conversation. A new groundbreaking observational study from the Wellness Company analyzed the off-label use of ivermectin and mebendazole in nearly 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across cancers like breast, prostate, lung, and colon. And the results were hard to ignore. After 6 months of these observations, 84% of the patients experienced clinical benefit, including stabilizing the disease, tumor regression, and in some cases, no more evidence of cancer at all. This is not lab data, of course. This is real-world patient experience, and it's observation, it's observed things. They got to go deeper, but still, that's a big sample to get those results. So, Dr. Harvey Risch, really. With his background, he's just an amazing guy. He called this an exciting signal, deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower-cost cancer care options. And I couldn't agree more. Dr. Risch is the chief epidemiologist at the Wellness Company as well. Very, very, look him up. He's a very impressive resume. Definitely one of the good guys, and was one of the good guys through the pandemic, just so you know. So that's why, based on these observations, the Wellness Company makes it easy to access ivermectin and mebendazole formula using medications that are FDA approved for other indications and are being studied for additional use. It is doctor prescribed and U.S. compounded, meaning it's mixed here in the USA. That's what compounding is. Designed to support patients exploring these emerging approaches under medical guidance. Ordering it simple and fully digital. You just fill out the quick intake form. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your prescription ships directly to your door. Head to Daily Clout Health and use code DailyClout to save up to $60 off plus free shipping. And let me go ahead and put that banner up for you just so you have it. There we go. Yeah. Okay, see the banner sliding across the bottom? That's where you want to go. Go to dailyclouthealth.com and use code DailyClout to save up to $60 off plus free shipping. I'm a customer of the Wellness Company. I'm a friend of most of the people over there. Great company. I love them. They're fantastic. I've used their products. Those who've followed for a long time know this. I always keep their blue kit with me, so I always have doxycycline because the ticks up in northern New York are insane. And I don't want to get whatever disease, God knows, Bill Gates and his weird Epstein buddies put together for us called Lyme disease. But the Wellness Company is great. And what I like about them too is like there's a lot of online type of providers and prescriptions. You got to be really careful. There's a very popular one. I'm not allowed to say the name on the show because I don't want to get sued. But this is a very popular one, especially with a lot of the Rumble crowd. Some of the biggest podcasts are sponsored by this other company. And man, we found so much about this company over at consumerdiligence.org. It might be worth your while to check it out before you go with them. What I like about the Wellness Company is you have real doctors, not doctors that may or may not be under investigation for Medicare fraud, which that other company's doctor is. But at the Wellness Company, you have real doctors like Dr. McCullough, Dr. Harvey Risch, Dr. Drew, people that you know and trust, okay, that you're getting these prescriptions from. And you can pick up the phone with the Wellness Company and ask your questions, and they have great customer resources for you. I trust the Wellness Company. You should too. So go to dailyclouthealth.com and use DailyClout as your code, and tell them Brian sent you too if you end up talking to someone. Yeah. And then really quickly, our other sponsor, really cool sponsor, and definitely you gotta check these guys out, and they have a great video too that I'm gonna put up the barcode at the end of the show. But the next one is, there we go. Sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes here because it's a lot of scientific words that I can't always memorize, and I do use this. Product as well. There we go. Okay. Okay, so you have probably heard the headlines by now. RFK Jr.'s pharma audit team has been digging into some uncomfortable questions about common medications. Now, regardless of where you land, but including claims around Tylenol and neurological development. Now, regardless of where you land on that argument, here's the part that should make everyone pause. Multiple studies have raised concerns about acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, and its effect on something called glutathione. Okay, what's glutathione? Well, it's your body's master antioxidant. It protects your cells, your brain, and your nervous system from damage. And when glutathione levels drop, well, your nerves don't really fire the way they should be. Signals weaken, repairs slow down, and that's when people start feeling the burning, tingling, numbness. I've felt it. I'm hoping it was just because I was asleep. But yeah, especially if you're past 50 or even past 40, you got to really think about these things. And it's the kind of nerve pain that quietly takes over your life. We all know older people or people our age who, they're kind of stoically going through it, but they don't have to. And here's the bigger issue. Tylenol is not the only thing that drains the antioxidants from your body. Ultra-processed foods, environmental toxins, chemicals in hygiene products, plastics that we use every single day, it all adds up. And most solutions for nerve pain, pills, creams, TENS machines, and so on, they try to mask the pain, but they don't replace what your nerves are actually missing. The good news, There are specific minerals naturally occurring straight from the earth that help restore nerve strength, protect nerve cells, and calm the constant buzzing, burning, and numbness. Okay. At the end of the show, I'm going to pop up the QR code, but you definitely want to scan it and check it out. Okay. And you'll see why some people call this product the miracle grow for your nerves, because it makes them young again, really. Because your nerves get, what happens when your nerves get what they need? They don't just calm down, they power back up. And let me go and pop that banner up for you. That is My Primal Life. You see it scrolling across the bottom there. Go to My Primal Life, myprimal.life/investigate nerve. That is a special link for my show. And check it out. See what all the people are talking about. It's pretty amazing stuff. Okay. Now, really quickly, back to the show. We're going to cover one more topic. I want to talk about Iran. Now, I don't have a cold open for this, but I want everyone to understand something. Okay, let's think about the timeline of Iran. Now, currently, we're in another round of peace talks, but okay, so when you think about Iran, what is everyone saying? Oh my God, oil's out of control, everything. And then another thing that people say is that oil prices are only coming down now because of these negotiations. It's just not true. Okay, and if you saw my earlier show on the strategic plan that I think is happening with Iran, you'll see that it's going exactly according to plan. All right, so when was it? It was so April 8th, there was a temporary ceasefire. April 11th, there was another one. And then in early June 2026, we conducted strikes. And then around June 11th, Iran announces an indefinite closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Then on June 14th, the U.S. and Iran reach an agreement to end hostilities, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and lift the American naval blockade. Trump announces a 2-week ceasefire. Iran's National Security Council confirms. That's June 14th. Hold on to that date. June 17th, Trump and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. I can't keep up with the presidents because it seems to be a different spokesman for Iran like every time. They sign a memorandum of understanding, which, by the way, is about worth as much as the paper it's printed on, reported in context, including the Palace of Versailles with French President Macron, blah, blah, blah. It suspends hostilities for 60 days and establishes a framework for permanent peace, with the U.S. making financial political concessions, Iran promptly to reopen the strait, and the U.S. to cease the blockade. Okay, guys, traditionally, Iran never goes along with any of these things. And no, we're not. Okay. How can I say this? Who do you think really controls the Strait of Hormuz? Iran or the U.S. Navy? Think about it. I mean, we've blown up most of their stuff. Yeah, there's seaborne mines in there, but who really controls it? We do. We have a naval blockade. We're the U.S. Navy, and yes, we are powerful, despite what Tucker Carlson might want you to believe. He's never served a day in his life. But the thing is, they're making, everyone's like focused on like, oh, Trump's got to, he's going to cede all this stuff because he's got to get Iran to open the strait. Bullshit. I'm sorry, but I'm just calling it. Because the longer the strait stays closed, the better it is for the United States. Because since taking Venezuela, establishing the export of Venezuelan oil to India, who then in turn provides great naval support in the South China Sea against China, with our deal with Indonesia, which occurred in February, which pretty much shut down the Strait of Malacca, which really cuts off Russia. Now they only got the Siberian pipeline to supply oil to China. We didn't block the Strait of Malacca, but we're doing naval exercises with Indonesia. We're blocking all the major trade routes. Back in November, it was, I think, Neptune or Poseidon. It was like Neptune's Trident, a deal we struck with the Greeks to not only conduct naval exercises in the Mediterranean, which then kind of limits what Turkey can do, but also to build a pipeline that goes straight up to Ukraine. Okay? And then, so where's Russia come in? Well, Russia's the chief supplier now to China. And what's Ukraine been doing? even after the shouting match in the White House, they've shifted their focus and have exponentially increased their attacks on what? The Russian oil infrastructure. Russian oil production is down like 25%, which has forced Russia to tap into its national wealth fund, which has stabilized a bit, but they're really digging into the liquid part of their national wealth fund, which is like their social security, which eventually crashes their economy if they spend it all. On the Iran side, the longer those pumps are closed, the more they degrade. They break down, condensation pressure, everything like that. Oil's got to pump for those things to stay healthy. So what have we really done? I mean, what do we really get if they open the strait? We get the rest of the world to stop whining about it. What do we get if we keep it closed? We get the rest of the world to buy oil from us and our Gulf partners. Okay? Because Iran's a competitor. This might sound inhumane, whatever. We're just talking strategy. I'm not an inhumane guy, but I'm saying really think through it when you hear it. Like, what's really going on? Now, let me show you another thing. And what's really going on is I think our entire intention from the get-go, after we took Venezuela, which mixes perfectly with Iranian oil, that's why all the shadow fleets used to mix Iranian and Venezuelan oil at sea to produce a refinable crude. And that used to be China's main supply of oil. And that's how they got around the sanctions, with these shadow fleets mixing at sea. Well, now we own Venezuela. And all the revenue from Venezuelan oil now, we get that. And then we dole it out from a fund to Venezuela, like allowance. Okay, so we control that. So the longer the strait stays closed, okay. I mean, okay, it works for us. That's why I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm not there, I believe that's why we are keeping it closed. I just don't see the Boston whaler fleet of mosquito boats from Iran, owning that strait anymore. Okay, their capacity's deteriorated to nothing. I just think all of this is to keep it closed because, again, the longer it stays closed, the longer Iran doesn't have revenue. If they don't have revenue, they can't pay soldiers, they can't pay their military, they can't rebuild their infrastructure, they're off the map. China's beholden to us because Russia, their other supplier, is getting just pounded by these Ukrainian drones, which is crazy, but it's happening. And don't forget that Xi Jinping at the last summit actually kind of opened up the, not official talks, but the idea of China buying oil from the U.S. Why is that important to China? Because if they don't have enough oil to produce LNG, or they can't get the LNG in at all, because they import all their energy. If they don't have enough oil to basically get that byproduct of LNG, they can't power their data centers, which means they can't win the AI race. I think this is all very strategic. A lot of people say, oh, Trump's stupid and the administration's stupid. Okay, fine. Call it luck then. Then this is the luckiest administration on earth because it's working and oil prices are coming down. Why are they coming down? Because we're pushing it out onto the market. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. I'm going to share my entire screen with you. Remove that. Get rid of those. And we are going to share a screen. Stop that screen. And then we're going to add this screen. Sorry to talk you through these things. Okay. And I got to hurry too. I got to get those steps in. All right. There we go. We'll do the whole window. Right there. Okay. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. Okay. There it is. All right. Okay, so here's the fuel prices, AAA. Okay, so as of, let me refresh that. Okay, so as of June 18th, $4. Oh, yeah, those are the trends. Let me back up here. I want to show you this. Okay, so here's today's average oil prices, okay, according to AAA. The national price of oil is $3.92 per gallon. I mean, of gasoline, not oil. Now, the highest ones are, of course, the red states, because they get to add all these different taxes on them, which is insane. Okay, but I just want to point that out now. Let's see here. Let's go to this chart. Okay, what's happening here? Okay, this is Biden. This is, let me see, the beginning of 2020. And then you see here, this is not going to be a, but Biden did a thing. I just want to make a point here. Now, look what happens. Biden gets in office here. And goes all the way up, higher than we haven't even reached that high yet. Okay, then Donald Trump gets back into office, elected around here, and then taking control here. And you see they're relatively stable. We get a nice drop here to 268. Then they go up. Now let's zone in on this chart. This is the start of the Iran conflict here. Okay, but let's zone in on that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months here. So this is what I want to point out. We hit the high here, okay, and that would be May 5th, May 7th. We closed the strait here. This is important. This one, the naval blockade went up around April 15th, I believe. And oil prices went down. When oil prices go down, this, I think, based on the Brent crude price, it's because supply is up, all right? So then they go back up for whatever reason. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because we had we had the back and forth conflict. But look what's been happening since May 22nd. We hit an all-time high there at 457. May 20th, and then look at this drop all the way down. What's my point? Okay, my point is this. These latest negotiations started, around here? And the news is reporting that that's the only reason why oil's coming down. This is the 1 month chart. It's been coming down. This talks to my theory that we're putting our oil out on the market. So supply is up, prices go down, and they've been going down constantly. Look at that. Okay. Hit the all-time high, boom, boom, boom. All right. And then, this is further underlined if you just see, let's see what this headline is. Here's your oil prices. Okay, you can see, again, new lows. Okay, all across the board, new lows. Now, some of the oil companies got out there and said, yeah, but they're not going to stay low. Well, yeah, they want them to go high. That's their stock. And then check this out. So here are the ports. Let me see, not that one. Unfortunately, I don't think... Oh, yeah, there we go, maritime traffic. Okay, let's get to the current activity. Here we go. Go back one more. Damn it. Okay, I'm not going to log in and deal with this. Okay. Anyways, go to any of these ship tracker sites. Sorry, guys, I screwed that one up, but that's all right. But go back to any of these oil tracking sites, and you'll see what I mean. The exports, the traffic coming in and out of the Corpus Christi area of Texas, the Houston area, are new records. So all you're hearing about, like, supply being low and we're going to fall into this, depression because the Strait of Hormuz, I think it's all BS, simply because it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up with the trend of oil going down before these kind of theatric negotiations. It's been going down because supply is up. Why supply up? Because we own Venezuela, and we're bringing that stuff right over to Texas, which was originally built to process that heavy Venezuelan crude. Okay, and then India can also process it. That's why we're selling to India. So my point is this. Back to the original thing of this whole show. We've got forces in this country who want to see us fail. Not because they're Americans who decided they hate America. Those are just the puppets, the Tucker puppets and the Candace puppets and the Ryan Matta puppets and the Massey puppets and the MTG puppets, who she doesn't even live in the country anymore. They want us to fail. They're also pushing other things like, this is why so many Americans are leaving. It's all hogwash. But they want us to fail. They want people to be mad. They want us to lose the midterms, so then their thought process is then the Democrats will take over. But it won't be the Democrats taking over. It'll be the Democratic Socialists taking over if we lose the midterms. That's what's going to happen. So, the point is just calm down, keep your eye on the markets, don't pay attention to any of the news, okay? Just focus on the facts, and you're going to enjoy your summer, plain and simple, because guess what? Oil prices are low, and they're going lower because supply is up, and that is just a fact. Record highs for traffic in and out of the Houston Corpus Christi area, which is our biggest import-export area for oil in the United States. And if you have ships coming in and going out, that means oil's coming in and it's going out. Where's that oil coming from? You could probably guess. And one more thing, and don't forget. If you caught the Donald Trump speech about inflation is good, that's all you saw on the news. Inflation is good. Donald Trump likes inflation. He's losing his mind, blah, 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 whatever. Watch the whole thing. And what does Donald Trump say? He says, we've been shipping millions of barrels out every night. And the traffic seems, the live traffic, maritime traffic, seems to support that. Because let's face the facts. Even in the best of times, the Iranian Navy could never block the United States Navy. They couldn't. Okay? They never had a great Navy. But the thing is, you got to ask yourself, why is it taking so long to get these negotiations? Why can't we just open it? They could open it. Don't forget, Iran, it seems like they were kind of going to open it, and then we put a blockade because we're only opening it to their buddies. So we blocked them. Now we said, now, like Chaz Palminteri and, the Bronx Tale. He's like, now you just can't leave. And that's the thing. The longer it stays closed, trust me, the better it is for the long-term strategy of the United States. And that strategy translates into cheaper prices for you and more United States control of the global oil supply, which can lead to peace for the entire world. Because if we hold the cards, those oil cards, people kind of gotta, go in the way we want them to go. Look at Russia. If they don't eventually make peace with Ukraine and vice versa, they're going to go broke. Look at China, same thing. Their economy is really just tanking because their export is down, not only because of all the embargoes, but also because of the price of oil to get those things here. And so will there be short-term spikes and inflation? Of course. Okay, of course, that's just how it goes. But it's just like if you've ever traded stocks. You never look at the day-to-day. You look at the long-term trend like I just showed you. And let me just end it on this. The long-term trend for the United States, if you have the courage to believe it in and the effort to research it on your own, the long-term trend is freaking awesome. So I'll leave you there. This is Brian O'Shea. Follow me on X at Brian O'Shea SPI. We will be covering the horrific activities that have happened in the UK over the last few decades with that new rape report that has come out. And I think that's very important we cover it because the UK is really a warning to us Americans. What can happen here if we allow woke policies to slowly take over this country? And if we let our guard down now, they're going to. Okay? It's horrific. If you haven't heard about it, I don't know where you've been, but it's horrific. I've gone over there. I bet some of these survivors, who've led the charge of bringing these things up, and it's terrible. And that's why you're having all of these very righteous uprisings happening in Belfast and other places. And they're not even getting covered by the legacy media, not even the conservative media on the legacy level. So that's why we're going to cover the UK. The UK is a great warning to everyone of what could happen here if the trajectory of what was happening under Biden was allowed to continue and is allowed to continue after the Trump administration is finished over there. So tune in for that. You can try to get some guests on for that one if they're willing to come on. But in the meantime, again, stay positive, guys. And don't listen to the idiots. They're just there to distract you. Yes, I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, all the other yahoos I mentioned. They're just there to distract you. And yes, I know about it. I just saw a comment. I'm not going to talk about J.D. Vance. It was horrible showing that he had. Horrible. Just showed nothing but weakness. Yeah, so, oh, by the way, so here's a couple comments because I never, let these go. I always try to get your guys' comments up here. Okay, so PT Moon, good to see you. I'm very aware of the groups infiltrating North America, Texas, Majority PAC. Bankrolled heavily by Soros, has launched a new initiative dubbed Blue Texas, partnering with the Texas Democratic Party and several county parties to organize volunteers, recruit candidates, and boost turnout. Absolutely. Same model. She actually said, have you ever heard of the Brooklyn Democratic Party? I'm not Democrat. I haven't heard of any of them. And I was like, no. She's like, we're different. And if you see here, I know I said it's ending, but it's important that your comments get up there. Look at the top there. It says, vote for real Democrats. So they have a big, it's two sides, man. It's a war. So thanks, PT Moon. My biggest concern is 50 mosques opened across DFW in 2 years. Greg Abbott, top donors, Pakistani businessman, who's given more than $14 million total just this year. We're going to cover that. We need to, because I've worked with like Frank Gaffney and everything on blocking some of those votes they tried to get through in Texas. So it's important, PT Moon. I'm glad you brought it up, and it does tie well with the UK story. So we will cover those for sure. Donnie Girl, aloha. Good to see you. Aloha back. Gas prices actually went down 4 cents last week here. That's a big deal in Hawaii. Big deal. And again, remember, when you go to the pump, look at the pump. They say which taxes they add. Let me see this, actually. Let me show you guys something. One more thing. I know we got to go. I'm not going to got to get 1,700 steps before midnight. Okay. I'm setting up this chart here for you. We've got the USA average here. And then I'm going to put in Portland, Oregon. And then, let's see. I'm going to put in California. Okay, let's put in Los Angeles. And then I'm going to pop this on the screen for you. Okay. These are... Look at this. So this is the national average right here, the blue line. Okay, so this is today's prices here. So the national average is just over $3.85. But when you add in all those local taxes, it's actually an entire $1 more in Portland and almost $2 more in California. Okay. So people see these national averages like, that's not true. You know, it's like, no, it is the national average. But look how much cost happens here when they put in their own taxes. That's green tax. Up in Portland, there's a homeless tax. But I want you can't really see it here, but if you look at, let me see if the 1 month will do it. Okay. So if you look at here, this is starting to stabilize, and these are starting to move up and away from the national average. So you got to ask yourself, are these states adding more taxes just to keep the national average up and make Donald Trump look bad right before the primaries? Keep an eye on that. And if you take pictures of your local pumps, you'll see it says right on the pumps what taxes are added. But this should be shocking. Look, and by the way, see the gap, the way it spreads out? Okay. That means they're adding more. They're adding more. Okay. And it should be here. I don't think states should be allowed to put a tax on gas. I don't. But there we are. So just keep an eye on that. And so I'm glad you brought that up. Where we go, it's $5.69. I got it for $4.95 in California. That is a fluke. In Los Angeles today, it's like $5.54 5.44, I think 5.45, and then I paid. Wait, time out. I paid 88 cents a gallon for gas in California 40 years ago. So gas has gone up 10 cents a year for 40 years. Yeah, absolutely. Little life hack: if you have a big reservation in your area, kind of route your trip through there and load up there, because you'll save a lot of money in taxes. Especially if you're in California. If you're up north, go up to Hurlong or like the Diamond Mountain Casino area. You could go to, if you're in Washington or Oregon, kind of roll through the Yakima Nation there. Like, try to get your gas. If you're fortunate enough to have a good reservation near you, roll through there or get your gas there. You won't pay all those local taxes, and they'll appreciate it. All right, so is Illinois just taking federal tax for themselves? No, they can't take the federal tax for themselves, but they add their own local taxes as they want to. They get county taxes. They claim they're for the roads and everything. That's what they take. But like, look at New York. They have a lot of tax on gas. Our roads are terrible. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. And by the way, new person, I think Larva Do, welcome. Good to see you. Appreciate having you here. So guys, I got to wrap it up. I'm going to hop off. But yeah, tune in. My lovely, gorgeous wife, who also owns this, the people that host me, she would like to see my face on video more. So you're going to see my face on video more this week. We're going to have a lot of conversations. By the way, email me at Brian@Daily Clout if you'd like. If you got a topic you think is worth covering,